Elf was pretty nice. You know, it's a nice kind of family film. I think James Caan's great in there.
Jimmy Caan.
That
was the guy from the program. That was the name I was trying to find.
And you hated that.
It was really boring. And there were so many stories crammed into this little movie. That was, it's like that old saying, why do bees hum? That's more of a joke, I guess. Not really a saying. It's more of a joke, that old joke, why do bees hum? Because they don't know the lyrics to any songs, Andrew. They don't even speak English. Bees don't speak English. What are you, crazy?
Yeah. Hey folks, this is episode 7 of RQ the podcast.
Yes.
This was the holiday episode. And basically it's times like these that I just have a question for you.
Oh boy.
Why do you hate Christmas?
I don't hate Christmas. I think in this episode I mentioned I'm not a big fan of Christmas film.
Oh, Christmas films. I'm sorry. I forgot the second part.
Christmas films.
Why don't you like Christmas films?
I don't dislike Christmas films.
You're pivoting.
That's what I do. Well, what's a Christmas film? Die Hard's a Christmas film.
A lot of debate and needlessly silly debate, but sure. Let's say that is a Christmas film. I know you like that.
The only Christmas film I really like, Home Alone. Mm-hmm. Big fan. Mm-hmm. That's about it.
Just Home Alone, huh?
What else is there?
Miracle on 34th Street.
Never seen it.
Wow.
Is that about a mall?
It is. Let's see what else. The Santa Claus.
Well, the Scrooge one, of course.
Sure. Well, there's a lot of those. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good story, you know.
You know what I watched a lot as a kid because it was always on was the claymation Rudolph one.
Yeah. People seem to like that. I couldn't get past that claymation though.
It was fun.
It's tough.
It was fun for the time.
Yeah. Well, in the episode, I do say that I do. I think maybe in my top 3 is Christmas Vacation. Like I really do like that movie.
You do like that
quote
movie.
it all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just something about it that I like. I guess you know what it is. I like that it's Christmas. I like that they're at home. They're not traveling. You ask me, it's like I'd rather just stay at home.
I'd rather just stay here.
I don't need to go anywhere.
What's on the TV?
Right. So to me, that seems like a very fun Christmas film. Die Hard, of course. But you know, there's other Christmas movies out there. I mean, and then you see Christmas adjacent. You know, like Gremlins takes place at Christmas. Lethal Weapon takes
Nightmare
place
Before Christmas.
Nightmare
is pretty
Before
popular.
Christmas. Sure.
That's usually more of a close to Halloween or Thanksgiving thing.
It's pretty catchy. But Home Alone, I like Home Alone 1 and 2. Like I do like both of them.
The second one's fine.
I like that the first one takes place in Chicagoland. You know, that was nice. It was a movie that I was not allowed to watch when I was younger because you have a child home alone doing things like setting traps and otherwise, you know, being a very naughty boy. And I don't know if that was supposed to like inspire me to do the same.
Interesting.
Anyway,
they were worried you were going to get ideas?
I guess. I don't know.
Is that why you weren't allowed to see it?
I suppose so. I remember someone had brought that movie to school, and we were like, "Oh, sure, let's just put that on." And you know, we were watching it, and then I think there was an angry phone call later on.
Are you serious?
Home. I think so. Maybe I'm making that up. I don't know.
Wow.
Anyway, Home Alone was I guess you could say it was the movie that we were using as the backdrop to the episode, but even at that point, like I don't think we were really trying to.
It was barely in it.
Yeah.
We talk about it for about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes. Right in the middle, we do our pitch. You were really into this this idea of his dad being just like really shady. Just kind of you gave him the name Slimy Pete. Right?
I don't
Peter
think...
McAllister. What is he? Who is he? White Collar Crime. He ripped off Joe Pesci apparently, and they were just trying to go Do you remember this? They
Okay,
were trying to go legit.
So this is how I'm remembering it. You have this Peter McAllister who lives in this very grand house in a very wealthy neighborhood.
Right, taking the whole family to Paris.
Taking the whole family and extended family, elements of the extended family to Paris, and you know the adults are in first class, the kids are in coach, and it's like, well, okay, what does he do for a living? You know, he's got all this, you know, money apparently, to go to Paris during the holiday. Like, that's expensive. Plus you're living in this house, so it's like, well, what did he do? And we were thinking, like, well, what if it was white collar crime? What did we say? He was in like witness protection or something like that. Like he got out of that business, and what did he do? Keep the money, I guess. I don't know. So Harry and Marv are, you know, and they don't mention it, but they were wronged by him.
Yes.
Great.
He stole their money. Yeah. It was a Ponzi scheme.
Right.
That was the plan. It opens with you at the Honey Wagon holiday compound.
Yeah.
In front of a giant fireplace, obviously green screen. So
Yeah.
I wrote down in my notes as I watched this yesterday, what was the point of this opening?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
why did we start there? Why did you have to travel to, as will soon be revealed, is the Chicago Turnpike, I guess? Not the New Jersey Turnpike. Where did this come from?
So the Chicago Turnpike, which is not real,
Sure.
with lanes of traffic that, if the keen observer notices, are going opposite directions.
Mirrored, yeah. Or it was European.
I think it was European, most likely.
Well,
Well, let me just find something that's kind of silly and goofy, and just put that as the establishing shot. You know, have the fireplace in there to establish that it's cold. You know, just
Right.
something along the lines of like setting the tone for the story. And I think that's really what it was. I mean, we were in very different locations than we were in any other time for any previous episode.
yeah, and it opens with you wondering where I am. I'm late. I'm running late, just like Alice in Wonderland or The Wizard of Oz, depending on who you ask. So you get handed a note, which I remember we shot that a bunch of times because we wanted to get like the hand thing like just perfect, because that was obviously my hand in front of the camera.
Which actually was a reference to the movie Monty Python's The Meaning of Life.
Okay. Right. Thank you, Bridget.
Yeah, and that was all that was.
Yeah.
So
We never see Bridget again, unfortunately.
ever.
Although maybe we should bring her back.
I think the reason we might have
Off-camera hand, Bridget.
Well, it could be kind of like a Claw, and from Inspector Gadget.
Like Inspector
You
Gadget.
just see the, you know,
He's petting his cat.
yeah.
It's a good cartoon.
Actually, that would be really great. We could have a character. We just
should.
call him Mr.
Mr. Paw.
Mr. Paw.
Mr. Paws. P-A-U-S-E.
He can make biscuits in the
Oh, that's
an
a
armchair.
Good, that's a good kitty cat.
Yeah.
So you were handed a note,
Yeah.
and I brought this up earlier. All of these, there are a couple of notes handed out throughout this episode, but there's a lot of improv on those. We shot those a bunch of times. I remember being like, why don't we just write a note out? And you're like, nah, I got this. So we ended up shooting a lot of different versions. But essentially, the inciting action is you get a note from me saying, hey, things have changed. Meet me on the turnpike, on the Chicago Turnpike.
Right.
And then you go to get dressed. You go put on a warm coat and a scarf, which is also a funny scene.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, now I'm ready. And then you do the flicky thing. It was like, why are we doing all this?
Again, it's building the scene.
Building the tension. Had to go find that winter coat.
Gotta go find it. The scarf.
There's a nice detail.
You know, it's
You're like, it's going to be very cold. I should go change.
Yeah.
And then you change.
I do.
And then you get ready to go.
5 minutes later, that's all it takes.
That it said 10 minutes later.
Oh, I'm
maybe
sorry.
that was the joke.
Maybe.
It took you 10 minutes to put a coat on.
Yeah. And a scarf.
Yeah.
And
And
then,
then you appear, and I'm sitting, as you said, on a freeway overpass with reversed traffic, waiting for you.
yeah.
And that's the setup.
Yeah.
It's a good setup.
With some nice chairs.
It's a good setup. Those are my kitchen chairs.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a setup, and we're just sitting there on the freeway.
And I was expecting you to bring gifts. You forgot the gifts. And I was like, that's the whole point. You were supposed to come here and bring the gifts so we could exchange gifts.
Yeah.
And then is that when we get into, basically the movie, right? At that point.
Well, yeah. I mean, this again, too, this is also the time where I still liked the idea of just talking about movies. That's all I really wanted to do. Mm-hmm. We would later do this in grand fashion when we talked about Die Hard the following year. That was, not to go too much into that, but that was just basically all Die Hard. There was no B story really for us. Right, it was all just focused on the film itself.
I had obviously probably had a couple of tipples as we filmed during the day. You make that joke about me like you probably had a couple of spirits, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was in the outtakes too, I noticed. Good outtakes. But every time I see this one, I'm like, what was I wearing? Like a trench coat and a sailor's cap. You call me captain, or you made a couple of sailor references a few times.
I've never seen a hat like that before.
It's a beanie that I folded up, so It looked like a Popeye hat, basically. We just kind of talked very briefly about the movie, talked about our pitch, about white-collar crime. But then it was also about this kind of growing tension between the two of us, which we talked about in the last episode. And I have that line where when I'm like, you keep doing what you're doing. You're going to go places, Andrew. Like, I'm being snarky and smug. So we were building that kind of tension between the two characters. And it obviously culminated in this episode because we basically ended with a cliffhanger with me quitting the show. And I had been talking about this arc for a while already in season 1. I was like, when are we going to break up? Like, we got to do this arc. And you're like, dude, we just started doing a show, so it's a little early. I was like, Christmas is the best time. So, this is our, kind of the duo's breakup episode. Cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, it's fine. Yeah. We worked it out.
We got over it.
He got a couple of watches. I got a fidget spinner.
Getting the watch.
It's a good joke. And there are a couple of good jokes in there. And they all happen basically in the third act. So, I don't know. Like, from an editing standpoint, I wonder, like, nowadays, if we would just cut to that action. Maybe that could have been a cold opening, basically. Like, us opening gifts.
Yeah.
Instead of building up to it and being at the climax, which made sense because it culminates with me leaving the show. The exchange was great. Your delivery is perfect. The Rolex, and I'm like, all right, well, now I'm expecting a Maserati, and I get a fidget spinner.
Well, you did that thing, which I still. It's just like, it's small. And it's like, oh, maybe it's a key to the city, and it's like, Maserati. Just like,
yeah, that's the Juilliard coming through.
Well,
and then it ended up being, the joke kept going because then you found a second watch underneath the first watch.
Actually, I got 2 watches.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, that is, the other thing about that scene is like I'm being all emotional and I'm starting to get teary-eyed and upset, and then you just put that great piano music in the background.
Right. I think it's called Newborn. It's a.
Wow, you remember the track?
Well, these tracks we were linked up. I think early stages where it's like, well, what preloaded music tracks does the editing software have? And it was just
iMovie,
yeah, and it was a Newborn. That's delicate.
Very sad.
It's so delicate.
It's also the first time, I think, I'm pretty sure that I do the thank joke. Thank.
Thanks,
It
Rob.
literally just says thank. No, thank.
Oh, you're right.
Let's see what we got here. It's I don't know. Is it a fidget spinner?
Yeah.
Well, that was the joke. It was like you had this really nice, heartfelt card, but you insisted on improvising every time, as opposed to just writing it out.
I don't know what was wrong with me.
I don't know what you were thinking. And then I open up my card, and it just says, thank. And you're like, oh, I think you mean thanks? And I was like, no.
No, thank.
It just literally says thank.
Well, There is recently. Mm-hmm. I don't know why it does this, but and on the phones when you're trying to send a text message or whatever, I swiped to say thank, but it just came out as than. THAN.
Wow, are you getting even
Fan.
shorter?
I was like,
At some point, it's just going to be the.
and then nothing. We're not going to thank anybody.
Yeah.
It's just going to be like that.
It gets shorter and shorter.
Shorter and shorter.
But that kind of turned into a catchphrase of sorts that we use, that every character starts to use. I'm pretty sure you say it, Maria says it. Yeah, thank. It's just like a... The joke is it's so disrespectful. Like, we don't need to have time to add the S. Like, we don't need to have time to say the entire word. We're just going to say thanks. So the shorter it gets, the funnier it is. So that was kind of the origin of that catchphrase, which I love. And still used to this day.
Yeah.
Many characters. Thank.
So
for anyone who's wondering why, it's pretty much in every episode, it's because we think it's funny.
Yeah.
And in some ways it is. And... So yeah, that whole ending scene is great. I think we nailed it. We kind of were just playing off each other's energy and had a good time. And you know what I noticed too is like at the end, I keep trying to leave and you keep trying to talk me out of it. And I was like, at the end, I was like, you know what? Like, you just wouldn't let me go. I was like, I'm trying to leave. Why do you keep asking me to stay? So I sit down and I'm like, you know what? I'm done. And then I walk away. And then you say, Merry Christmas. It's great.
Well, am I happy? Am I happy that you're leaving? Or am I conflicted?
It was one of those where I couldn't tell if you were just f***ing with me or improvising. I was like, I need to leave now. Can you stop saying this? So I just gave up and left.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Well, I mean, to me, I don't remember what my the direction that I was taking, which was in the vein maybe of like, it's Christmas time. Nothing will get in the way of that. So, Merry Christmas. It's just like, nothing to see here. Everything is cool.
Yeah.
R is gone.
Right.
But the episode was definitely featured more of our story. We were just trying to be more creative, getting away from a movie per se, and maybe just peripherally referencing a movie.
And we didn't rely on any phone calls, any characters, any outside character. It was just us.
What an interesting point.
Yeah.
Didn't even realize that.
No phone calls.
Darn. Is it the first time that we didn't do a phone call?
I was just thinking that. Probably.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, we do them in the Halloween episode.
A big phone call in there.
Movies on tape doesn't count.
No.
Doesn't count for anything. This is a good experiment. Like you said, surreal. I was making a meme. I don't know. I always remembered really enjoying these two episodes when they came out. You said it was kind of difficult to watch, which again, I said that for a lot of our earlier videos. Did you? You said that, right? Did you have a difficulty? Did you have a hard time watching this one?
I think I did. I think the challenge that I had in watching this one was that to me, it felt at the time like a missed opportunity. And what I mean by a missed opportunity was, like I was saying before, what I still wanted the show to be was to just talk about movies.
Gotcha.
And not necessarily get away from that. But the direction of the episode when we were filming it was decidedly away from talking about a movie. And in hindsight, I think that was the correct approach, because if we were just talking about a movie, then it's like any other show that's out there that they're like, let's decide whether or not Die Hard is an actual Christmas movie, or what did Peter McAllister actually do before he was Peter McAllister as Slimy Pete? You know, like these things are like, everyone's doing that. And like, what if we did something different? Make reference to some of these things, but just like not dwell on it the whole time. And yeah, I think it was a smarter move to just get away from that.
So how do you feel about this episode? Let's end on that. How do you feel? Out of 10, what would you give it? A 7.5?
No. I still think in terms of the quality of the episodes, I think Vinny is still my favorite up to this point. I I think this is a little bit lower than Princess Bride. I think it's better than both Back to the Future, Big Trouble, and Big.
Interesting. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I would agree with that assessment.
Yeah.
Missed opportunities, as you said.
Sure.
But on the right track.
But I don't know if it was a missed opportunity because like we ended up not doing what everyone else would have done.
It's like you were saying, it was a missed opportunity for what you originally envisioned, but we went a different direction, right? So, and I think it worked for the most part. Yeah. Character stuff's always fun.
Where do you put it?
Holiday special. I think it falls into that category that it was just it is what it is. It's a holiday special, and the movie took the back seat, which I was always fine with, because I really was always just interested in the B stories. That's always been my problem. So it's probably like an 8 out of 10, B-, maybe a C+ on a bad day.
But where do you put it between like Halloween and this one? Which one do you think is better?
I would definitely put this above Halloween because I think there were jokes that paid off in this one.
Okay.
Like we mentioned. Okay. Sure, they show up in the very end, but it's worth watching till the end to see those jokes pay off. Whereas Halloween, it was just, we just want to bring this character in, and he just shows up for a split second at the end, and that's it. Other than the phone call. Right. So I would definitely I would put it above the Halloween episode as far as rewatch factor.
Well, folks, I think that's going to do it. This was our episode 7.
That's it.
RQ, the podcast, talking about the holiday special. That's correct. So it was fun to talk about this one. Definitely, I don't mean to be harsh on it. It's not a terrible episode by any means. It is just one of those that maybe it had something to do with the psychological effects of, like, it's very gray looking, and I know that it's like in Chicago in the winter time, and I'm just like, I don't like it. I don't like this at all.
It was a very gray episode for sure.
We just look cold.
We do.
Like, I think we did a great job of mimicking the cold weather temperatures, and whereas the Halloween episode looks like we're, sweaty and hot in a boiler room.
It's true.
That's our episode. Thank you very much for watching.
There it is, number 7. Check that one off the list.
Yeah,
we're getting through them. Only 93 more to go.
I think wow. No, what do we got? We got 12 episodes in the first season of Requel. So we got 5 left, and then
another 12 in season 2 or 10.
I think we did fewer. We did fewer, but more. I don't want to say quality, but I feel like they took. There was a little bit more care that was put into those.
True.
A little bit more.
Absolutely.
Editing prowess.
And then 2 episodes in season 3. We'll get to actually, those will be long discussions.
Those will be multi-layered discussions.
Yeah.
But it's as always a pleasure to have you listen to us ramble on about what we're doing. Minor pleasure. It's the pleasure is mine. Literally.
Yeah. And as my character would say in this episode,
Right. Thank you, everybody. Take care.